Hey gang, using the promo code MTGMudsta, one word, all caps, will get you 10% off orders of $10 or more at Flipside Gaming, Original Magic Art, and orders of singles at Multizone. If they don't have what you're looking for, you could check out TCG Player and use my affiliate link to help support the channel. Looking for a way to bling out your deck and not spend a fortune? Alter Sleaze can help with that, and you can help with the channel at the same time by using my affiliate link. Or, if you're looking to join the Goblin Gang, you can always support me through Patreon. Hey gang, just so you know, Flipside Gaming is doing a giveaway for a Kaldheim Draft Booster Box. By placing an order with my Flipside Gaming promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, you'll be entered to win. Alternatively, you can send a stamped, self-addressed envelope or postcard to Flipside Gaming to the address below. The contest will run from January 25th until February 8th. Only one entry per household, so good luck, and let me know what you get if you win. Alrighty, today's game is another one filmed with the Punt Squad. This is pretty old actually, because Adam is playing my Zedruu deck, which eventually became Kakar, which is currently Elsha. He's keeping a Wild Research, Gamble, Sulphur Falls, Plateau, Volcanic Island, Force of Will, and Search for Azcanta. Tony is playing his Kestia deck, and he keeps an Enchantress's Presence, Command Tower, Argothian Enchantress, Ghostly Prison, Mesa Enchantress, Gilded Lotus, and an Unflinching Courage. Scott is playing his spiffy signed Maelstrom Wanderer deck, keeping a Scalding Tarn, a Mana Confluence, a Coiling Oracle, a Wirewood Channeler, Reflecting Pool, and Vizier of the Menagerie. Peter is playing Yawgmoth, keeping a Marsh Flats, a Buried Ruin, a Westvale Abbey, a Reassembling Skeleton, Damnation, Dictate of Erebos, and a Genesis Chamber. Scott wins the die roll and starts us off. Scott draws and plays a Scalding Tarn. He sacrifices it, taking 1 to find a land which can tap for green, and shortcuts first, playing out a Birds of Paradise. Tony draws and plays a Command Tower. Adam just plays a Volcanic Island, passing to Peter. Peter plays a Marsh Flats, and sacrifices it as well, taking 1 to go and find a swamp. Scott plays a Mana Confluence, and he pays 1 green and 1 blue for a Coiling Oracle. It enters, and it reveals a Wall of the Roots off the top, which he puts to hand. Tony draws, but has to discard, passing to Adam. Adam drops Sulphur Falls, and then pays 2 mana for a Search for Azcanta. Peter plays a Swamp for turn, and then pays 2 as well, but for a Reassembling Skeleton. Scott has a Reflecting Pool for turn, and then has enough mana for a Wirewood Channeler. Moving to combat, he hits Adam for 1 with the Coiling Oracle. Tony draws, doesn't have a land, and has to discard. Adam uses his Search for Azcanta trigger on his upkeep, looking at his top card. He leaves it there and draws it for turn. He then plays a Plateau, and he taps 2 for a Scroll Rack. Adam then activates it, setting aside his hand, and drawing that many, and then putting the old hand on top of his library. He passes to Peter. Peter plays a Westvale Abbey for his land drop, and passes. Adam confirms that the Channeler only taps for 1, but Scott reminds him it's 2. Scott then plays a Command Tower for turn, and pays 4 for Vizier of Menagerie. Scott is then able to look at his top card, and he taps enough to cast a Heart Warden off the top. Moving to combat, the Oracle hits Peter for 1 this time. Tony draws and realizes that greedy hands rarely pay off, and he has to discard down to 7 as he passes. Adam gets his Search for Azcanta trigger again, looking at his top card, but he knows what it is and draws it. He plays a Serra's Sanctum, which only taps for 1 right now, and he then completely taps out for Zedruu, passing to Peter. Peter draws for turn and plays a Buried Ruin. He sees his chance to resolve a board wipe, and he casts Damnation. Despite having just dropped his commander, Adam is okay with this, since this sets Scott back so far. Tony is also fine with it, for obvious reasons. With nothing else, Peter passes. Scott untaps and draws. He plays a tapped Tranquil Thicket for turn, and then drops with lightning speed a Voyaging Satyr and the earlier revealed Wall of Roots. He then passes to Tony. Tony draws and keeps bricking on lands. He discards Sigil the Empty Throne as he passes to Adam. Adam draws and plays out a Clifftop Retreat. He then taps 4 mana to main phase a Fact or Fiction and has Peter make 2 piles. Peter makes them like so, and Adam takes the pile with Helm of Obedience, Sphere of Safety, and Force of Will in it. He then passes. Peter draws, and pays 4 to cast Liliana of the Dark Realms. He upticks the Planeswalker, going to find a swamp to put to hand, which he then plays for his land for turn, before passing to Scott. Scott draws, and taps 4 mana, casting a Bloodbraid Elf. He cascades, but only goes 1 card deep, hitting Worldly Tutor. This lets Scott go and tutor for a creature card, and as he's searching, he reveals to the table Dragon Lord Atarka, putting the dragon on top of his library. Moving to combat, the Satyr and the Elf go at Liliana, and he passes to Tony. Tony draws and has to discard once more despite having 39 lands in his deck. Adam gets his search trigger, keeping it on top. He then taps 1 red and casts Gamble. This has him going into his library to find a card and put it to hand, and is then forced to randomly discard one. He has Tony pick, and the card Tony picks is Decree of Silence, going to Adam's graveyard. Adam then plays a Plains for turn, and taps his lands to cast a Sphere of Safety before passing to Peter. Peter draws and does his best Tony impression, having no lands to play. He still casts Yawgmoth though, and passes to Scott. Scott draws and taps 5 mana to cast Acidic Slime. The Oozy Boy comes in, and as it enters, blows up Adam's Sphere of Safety. Moving to combat, with the way clear, he hits Adam for 4. Tony finally draws another land, a forest, and he then taps 2 for an Argothian Enchantress, passing to Adam. Adam resolves his search trigger in his upkeep, keeping it on top, and then drawing it. He plays a tap Prairie Stream because he doesn't meet the 2 basic criteria, so it'll come in untapped. 2 mana gets him a Rest in Peace, which as it enters, exiles all graveyards. Adam is then able to tap his Sanctum for 2, which enables him to cast Helm of Obedience with 1 mana open. Scott wants a closer look at the Helm, and Adam explains that if he activates it for 1, because of Rest in Peace exiling cards as they go to the graveyard, the Helm will never see that 1 creature it requires to stop, and thus, exile the entire library. The table is now very afraid of Adam, and Peter untaps and draws. He plays a Swamp for turn, and isn't sure how to deal with either the Helm or the Rest in Peace because Black doesn't have a good history of artifact destruction or enchantment destruction. He passes to Scott, hoping Green will help deal with it. Scott untaps and draws. He plays Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, which was the card he'd drawn, and activates it for 5. He then taps enough mana, taking 1 from his mana confluence to cast a Maelstrom Wanderer. Adam responds to the Wanderer cascade triggers, activating his Helm first for 1, and exiling Scott's entire library. Unfortunately, this means Scott doesn't get to cascade into anything, and once his commander resolves, Scott heads to combat. He swings everything at Adam, hoping player removal will save them. Tony draws, and the table hopes for a disenchant. He taps 2 mana, but unfortunately it's only for Herald of Pantheon, which won't do it. He then passes to Adam. Adam uses his search trigger and decides to put the card on top into his graveyard, which is exiled. He then draws for turn and sacrifices the Arid Mesa he plays, taking 1 to go and find a Tundra. He then recasts Zedruu and passes to Peter. At the end of turn, Peter pays to activate Westvale Abbey to make a token, and with the ability on the stack, Adam uses the Helm combo to exile Peter's library. Peter then loses on his next draw step, followed soon after by Scott as we move to Scott's turn after Peter loses. Tony untaps and draws. He then needs only pay 2 mana for Enchantress's Presence since the Herald reduces the cost by 1, but Adam counters it. With nothing else that he can do, Tony scoops it up to Adam. Game review time. So not much I can say about this one, except for Tony, please never keep 1-land hands. It seemed that early on that Scott was going to win through Elf Ball like he typically does, but Peter did a good job of nipping that in the butt. In fact, Peter did such a good job, Adam was able to roll out his combo unopposed later in the game. And he took out his biggest threat at the time, Scott, and when Scott was out of the game, Peter was next because let's face it, Tony wasn't a threat. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/MTGMudsta. And lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/MTGMudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.